Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I am really honored, proud, and glad to be standing here. The hard work of everybody in this room that resulted in each of these contracts that I just signed most of them, and we're signing the rest of them here today, is an important step for this city. I think we have seen at the national level nothing but dysfunction. And one of the most important things that the city can do is show that we will continue to function as a very hard-working government that can get things done for the people and get things done for the employees who serve the people. And one of the most important ways we show our employees how they're valued is through the contracts we give them and how we treat them. Seattle has been a leader on labor rights for a very long time. You know, the Fight for 15, the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights, minimum wage for Uber drivers, those are all really pivotal things that the country's following. But how we treat the people who work for us day in, day out to deliver everything from court services to firefighters to machinists to PROTEC, who represent some of the very hardworking people across the city, is critical. Each of these contracts were hard negotiations because it's a really difficult time in this city. We're asking more and more from our employees every day in the work they do. The circumstances in which they work has changed enormously in the last 10 years, and they're doing it in a city that has grown and is more difficult to navigate in every way. I could not be more proud of our city and the workers that work for our city. I think the best part about being mayor is knowing that I work with the best men and women anywhere who show up every day in this changing city and go to work to make it a better city that works well for the people of Seattle. It's really critical that we have those kinds of services and have these kinds of fair wages and benefits so that when we go out and recruit for positions, we can recruit the very best. And that we can continue to get that high level of services that we demand from so many. There's some really important things we've done here today. In addition to the wages and benefits that we've negotiated, we wanted to make sure that we were leaders on things like having a work-life support committee, so they're really looking at balancing those issues for our employees. We're also looking at bereavement leave. As many know that our city changed its policy, but how we address that as a city is really important to workers. More and more workers we're in the sandwich generation. Many workers are taking care of both parents and children. And if they lose someone important to them in their life, it's important that they be able to take the time. I really want to recognize Firefighters Local 27 for all you've done, all you will continue to do for negotiating hard, but making sure that we got a contract that works for everyone. We know that our firefighters every day are going to work trying to figure out how do we keep this city better and more safe. Chief, thank you for your leadership on so many things on this issue. And the work of a firefighter has changed. We want to keep making sure that we do what we need to do to address that healthcare system and our response to homelessness so that firefighters can really direct their responses to emergencies. Because right now, in many ways, your men and women are the healthcare for many people experiencing homelessness. You're the ones that when the fire comes, you run towards it, not away from it. We have to make sure that we are taking care of and supporting our firefighters in all the ways that they need to be supported in this city. I also really want to thank PROTEC and all the work you guys have done, and Mark, thank you for your work too. It has been really important for us as a city to look at these hard issues that we have in bargaining to make sure that our employees feel supported, but we also do what we need to do to protect the citizens and the public fisc. I think we reached some really great contracts here that really embed our values, tell our employees they're going to be treated right and fairly, and build for the future. Because we know that so many of our city workforce are starting to age out, and as we have those vacancies created, it gives us a really great opportunity to diversify the workforce, but we are not going to recruit and keep the people we need unless we keep up pace in terms of wages and benefits and how we treat people like family leave. So with that, I really want to thank all the 12,000 people plus who work for the city of Seattle. Every good thing that I've been able to accomplish as mayor is because of those workers. It's the men and women behind me and the men and the women in the trenches. Everything that's bad that's happened, it's all my fault. But I really want to thank every city employee for the hard work they do. I want to tell everyone around the holidays, it's time to enjoy your families. It's time to take some time off, reflect, and next year, 2020, is going to be a great year. And with that, I really want to turn it over now to my good friend, Kenny Stewart of Local 27.
Well, good evening. My name is Kenny Stewart, and I'm proud to serve as the president of Seattle Firefighters Union, IAFF Local 27. I'm also a longtime resident of Seattle, and I'm a lieutenant on Ladder 8 in Ballard. And I, along with my bargaining team, I'm very pleased to join Mayor Durkan and the other city laborers here tonight to announce that Seattle firefighters have reached an agreement with the city on our contract for 2020 and beyond. Actually, 2019. It was a long contract negotiations because the city's become more and more complex, and the issues that we're dealing with have become more complex as well. This agreement will support public safety. It's going to improve training for firefighters and paramedics, and it'll ensure that the residents of our city continue to receive the first-class service that they expect and deserve from the Seattle Fire Department. This agreement also recognizes the tremendous impacts of the explosive growth of Seattle on workers like firefighters. The benefits of this startling economic boom include jobs, investment, opportunity, and progress. But it also has brought thousands of new people to Seattle. Density, traffic, higher housing costs, increases to the cost of living, and displacement. This agreement, in spite of that, supports public safety and those who provide it, and is going to help us address the challenges that this economic time brings, economic boom. In addition, this agreement once again demonstrates the value of our collective bargaining process to resolve tough, complex issues that we face as a large metropolitan city and as a world-class fire department. And I want to recognize our fire chief, Harold Scoggins. He's helped us become an even better fire department since he's been here. This contract balances the needs of both parties and indeed all the stakeholders in the city of Seattle to support a beneficial outcome for all of us. This dependable, time-tested process has resulted in an agreement that addresses the real problems we're facing today while being sustainable in the long term. I want to thank my bargaining team for all of their work, as well as the city negotiators who we worked with. I want to thank all of my members for their patience and their trust throughout this process. I want to thank our fire chief, Harold Scoggins, for his leadership and for the positive and productive relationship that we've built that honors our legacy of service and sacrifice to the citizens of Seattle. And finally, I want to thank the council and our mayor, Jenny Durkan, for respecting workers and the collective bargaining process, for prioritizing public safety, and for supporting firefighters. We appreciate it, because we want to focus on getting our job done and preparing for the next emergency. Thank you.
And among those to be thanked is Mark Watson and Shan Von Eyck, who were co-chairing the coalition. Many people don't know how that works, but we have a number of unions, a number of contracts. We try to bargain those things in common, and Mark now is going to speak some words.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
It's still afternoon, right? Good afternoon, everybody. I really appreciate everybody being out here. This is a very exciting time for us. And the one thing I thought about coming up the elevator was something that Kenny mentioned. And when I first started in the labor movement, we talked about a voice at work. And what those stacks of paper right there, that is the manifestation at a true voice at work. Every 3 to 4 years, depending on how long your contract is, we sit down with our members, we get their priorities, it's their chance to really talk about the things that they care about most. And then we sit down with an employer, and in this case with the mayor and the council and their bargainers, and we work through those issues. It is kind of magic. Sometimes it feels like torture because it can go on. In this case, we started bargaining September of last year, so we're at a year plus a couple of months. But at the end of the day, both parties feel the reward of going through that process, even when it's difficult. And so I just want to first thank the mayor for her commitment to meet us sometimes halfway, sometimes a little further. I want to thank the council and their leadership for helping through the LRPC process. I want to thank the bargainers for the city. I want to thank Jonna. I want to thank Adrian, who's not in the room, but she bargained most of the... Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Adrian. I want to thank Adrian. She was very helpful. She has experience in the labor movement and figured out ways forward with us. But I most especially want to thank our fellow staff reps that have that sat down and trusted Shaun and I to go through this process and lead them to contracts. And then lastly, I want to thank my members and the other leaders in the workplace that sat at the table with us. Just for folks that have never been there, it is not just 4 or 5 reps. We have worker leaders, everybody from truck drivers to the person that cleans this room, to engineers, to the people that make sure your bridges are safe, to the people that help the homeless. All the things that we do, these are real people behind these job titles, and the leaders that came to the table with us always look for ways to move forward. We're reasonable, tough, both with management and even with their reps sometimes, to make sure that that deal met the interests of their coworkers. And then lastly, I'd like to say this contract is a real investment in the employees in the context of a shrinking middle class and working class. If you look at the statistics in this country, we have essentially not had real wage growth when you compare it to inflation. It's been flat. Even though women have come into the workforce in huge numbers, family income has essentially stayed flat. And in this city, with the acute success, what comes with success is some housing affordability crisis, and this contract shows a real investment by the city in helping our employees who are affected by that same crisis to stay in the city, or at least close enough to the city that they can come to work. And it makes for stronger communities, and we really appreciate everybody's work on this, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shaun.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you, Mark. That's on my notes. For the introduction.
Thanks for that stellar introduction.
My name is Shaun Van Eyck. I'm a union
Who
rep.
needs no introduction?
Apparently. And I'm a union rep for PROTEC 17. We're the largest union of city employees here in the city of Seattle. I want to start by thanking the bargaining team members, some of whom are here tonight, who committed countless hours to this process. It was their dedication and tenacity that directly led to these great contracts you see before you. I also want to thank Mark and the other union representatives whose work, perseverance, and solidarity also contributed greatly to these negotiations. Finally, I want to thank the mayor and the city council for their leadership and dedication to the working people of this city who keep this city, this world-class city, running 24/7. I will just say that I'm not just proud of the new and enhanced benefits we were able to negotiate for our members. I'm also very excited for the future and to get back to the bargaining table in 2020 because we have several reopeners in this contract. These reopeners memorialize the city and labor's ongoing commitment to the continuous enhancement of benefits and working conditions for all city employees, allowing us to adapt and modernize our contracts to adjust for a rapidly changing city. I'm particularly excited to continue our work with the city on the integration of the city's leave benefits with the new state leave benefits that come online next year. With the execution of these contracts, the city and coalition demonstrate our mutual interest in improving the lives of the dedicated working families who keep this city thriving. I look forward to continuing our work to enhance the experience of all city employees as we focus on transparency, equity, and fairness in the workplace. Thank you again to the members of the coalition unions, the world-class labor negotiators, the city tasked with bargaining on their behalf, the mayor and city council. I look forward to seeing you all back at the bargaining table in 2020. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Durkan. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaun. I'm going to sign in a minute, but I want to give thanks again to a couple other people. We've got some of our leaders of our most important departments here. Every one of them committed to the workers. This is a big part of what we do, making sure we have the right wages and benefits. But how we treat employees, empower employees, and give them the resources they need to do their job is just as important. And department by department, I am so proud of each of our leaders here who are here today, my department heads, because I know how much they care. And we have done a lot of work in the last year to try to improve and listen to our employees. Everything from having different workplace expectations to creating the Office of the Ombud to making sure that we are creating the most fair and just workplace itself. So all of this is part of to say is America is better when workers are treated fairly. America is better when workers are treated fairly. When we support workers, there is a strong and vibrant middle class, and America does better. When we don't do that, we see this country get more and more divided. So I am proud the city of Seattle is willing to commit itself every day, both council and mayor, to making sure that people are treated fairly in the workplace and that we have contracts that really reflect the value of the work they do for this city. My last thanks are going to be the bargaining team too. Bobby, Jana, Adrian, all of you. This took me about a long time to sign. Imagine how much it took to negotiate. I look around this room and I see so many people have worked so hard on this for a very long time. I want to thank you for your work on that because I know it's not easy. There were some difficult issues to hammer out. And I'm not just saying that just for our carpenters, but we did get a deal with the carpenters. I really believe that staying at the table, working at the table sometimes can be hard, but at the end you're right. It's rewarding to know that we got to where we got to get, and we're going to have a better city because of it. So now I will sign the Local 27 fire contract and the PROTEC 17, and all the other addendum have already been signed. So when this is done, it's really done. And I also want to recognize Councilmember Peterson. Look at all this fun you get to have. It's all, the beginning. Yeah, that's right. It's just the beginning. Gonna have a few of the pens that are really used. You got a final agreement. Now, what do you think? Should we sign this firefighter one? Oh, yeah.
You're just breathing down your neck.
That's right. I'm there. There's no better investment than in our workers. All right, we're done. Good work. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We did it, guys! Yay! Hip hip hooray! Congratulations. Yeah, you just get started. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Let's go, Greg. We're going to the